as well as climate-friendly technologies. We provide technical assistance to project developers or project hosts in improving their business models, their proposals to be palatable to potential investors. I am one of the PFAN mentors in the Philippines, and my colleague, Ben Briones, who is with us, is another PFAN mentor. May I please call on Ben, please stand up to be recognized. Thank you, Ben. This morning's session is called Financing of Sustainable Cold Chain Technologies. The main objective of this session is to introduce to you, our participants, specifically the potential cold chain technology users, the various financing programs or packages from our local banks that cater to cold chain projects. We have invited representatives from 4 banks to share and discuss with you said financing packages. Some of the banks may have several financing programs available for cold chain technologies. In order for you, our participants, to get the most information and answers to potential questions you may have, I suggest that in case you still do not have a specific cold chain project in mind, you assume that you do, okay? And even if the technology is not yet identified, this approach will allow you to put yourself in a situation where you have specific financing related questions in mind, which you may ask our speakers this morning. For those of you who happen to have specific cold chain technologies in mind, all the more you are welcome to ask our speakers what these questions are. This session is not a technical one. Our speakers are from the financial institutions. While some of them may have technical background or experience, I suggest that you reserve your technical questions for the next sessions, which will focus on updates on the full cold chain project subsidy to food cold chain operators and end users adopting sustainable technologies. These are exhibited in the CCI Hub. In the afternoon sessions, there will also be sharings of the demo project's beneficiaries on their transition to efficient and sustainable cold chain technologies, which we hope will encourage more users to follow suit. The cold chain project is still national demonstration project sponsors until about July of this year. This, though, is not a firm deadline, but what I believe is firm is that the cold chain project receiving subsidy must be installed and commissioned by about August to September of this year. Qualified project proponents may be provided with a maximum of 80% subsidy or grant, 80% of the cost of the cold chain technology. And the balance, as the project sponsor may wish, can be provided as equity or with part equity and then part loan from any of our financial institutions. I will be introducing each of our 4 speakers before each presentation. At the end of each presentation, I will be entertaining 2 questions from the audience. The other questions will be entertained after the 4 speakers have all completed their presentations. I will entertain questions from the audience until the time allocation allows. So for those who have questions, I think there are microphones over there, and there will be uh, guys handing over the microphone to whoever is interested to ask questions. So towards the end of the day, you will be given the time to visit the coaching hub and see for yourselves the different efficient coaching technologies using natural refrigerants being promoted for use. Should any one of you be seriously interested in any of these technologies, please approach me or them and we shall set up follow-up meetings. This is just our initial interaction with you. So to get going, allow me to introduce our first speaker. He is, he is from the Land Bank of the Philippines. Edgardo, or Ed de Guzman, is currently part of the Land Bank's Value Chain Finance team and concurrently works for the Program Management Department 1. He holds the degree of Bachelor of Science in Mathematics from the Polytechnic University of the Philippines in Santa Mesa and an MBA degree from the College of the Holy Spirit, Manila. He has been working at the Land Bank of the Philippines for 28 years now, handling lending program conceptualization, packaging, promotions, and implementation that have benefited the bank's priority sectors, such as small farmers and fishers, cooperatives, micro, small, and medium enterprises, rural enterprises, and other agri-based industries. So to share with us what the Land Bank can offer the cold chain sector, let us welcome Ed Guzman.
Thank you, Ma'am Laurie. Good morning, everyone. First of all, on behalf of TANDAM, with the leadership of our new president, Lynette Committees, we want to thank the organizers of this forum for inviting TANDAM to be part of this moment. And particularly, we want to thank our host today, the TESDA, the Tutan Philippines, the CCI, CFO, and the others. I think it's been a busy month for the whole chain industry this uh, June because next week, Tandang has also been invited to your national convention in Albay. So our lending center in the Gospel will be there to be with you. Today we are highlighting five financing programs that are heavily rely on cold chain logistics. And then for these commodities to reach our consumers in most uh, good, very good quality and to be safe for consumption. And we also noted that most of the our clients are engaged in cold storage facilities are tend to engage also in the industries that they support. So these are those programs. Uh, uh, ne- Next slide. The first program is the Sulong Saka Lending Program or High Value Crops Financing, wherein we extend credit support to the full value chain of these commodities or crops. And this includes cacao, banana, and particularly onion, one of the heavy user of cold storage facilities. Then we also have a program for the swine lending program, and this is the bank's call for the effort of the government to repopulate our utility farms because of the negative effects brought by the ASF epidemic or pandemic in the piggery sector. Then we also have the milk program or the masustansya inumin for utas sa kalusugan. this provides um, financing support for our dairy farmers. And the other two programs are the poultry lending program. We have a considerable portfolio for the poultry sector, and we finances all the activities within this sector, from breeding operations, hatcheries, and the grow-out farms. And I think I'm contemplating is are those climate control facilities are also part of your sector? Eventually, uh, because we also finance those climate control buildings for poultry and swine. And the last is the sustainable aquaculture lending program. It's basically a scholarship programs that involve the canning or manufacturing companies, and we link them to our cooperatives, the small fishers, and other players for them to supply the raw materials to fish. And we want to give this opportunity to present the other type of projects that are covered by this program. So obviously, one of those is the support for the sector, which is the establishment of cold chain facilities. So under this Sulong Saka program, we provide financing for the grow out of these agricultural commodities. And because we try to meet all the financing requirement of the stakeholders of this industry, we even finance the establishment of the nurseries, then the maintenance of a plant food or mother plant gardens. So these are the sources of planting materials. Then we also provide financing for new plantations, with rehabilitation of orchards, and the post-harvest facilities, and including the um, packaging, warehousing, and cold storage requirements. For the swine, projects that can be financed are swine production. That includes breeding and grow out with sites. And we can also finance allied businesses such as pig milling, um, slaughterhouses, meat processing, and other types of projects related to swine sector. For the milk program, we provide financing support for dairy production, processing, um, marketing, and other dairy-based economic activities like cold chain, from storage, delivery by refrigerated plants to chillers at retail stores to serve the freshness and safety of dairy products. So later on, I will show some one type of project that we finance under this program. Then going on to poultry, the projects that can be financed are poultry productions that includes broilers, the layers, the breeders, and other poultry birds, including backyard raisers and free-range chicken and other allied businesses. Um, and most of our finance cold storage facilities are in support of their poultry raising plants. For the aquaculture sector, we provide the financing for the whole value chain of the industry, from breeding and hatching of eggs, nursery, seaweed farming, processing of these commodities. Can also finance businesses like aqua fish dealing and equipment manufacturers, ice plant, especially cold storage facilities, and fish carriers. So our program caters to cooperatives, the farmer associations, federations, MSMEs, the large agribusiness enterprises, and corporations that are registered with the CBA, SEC, or DTI as appropriate. LTUs may also borrow as part of their economic enterprises. So all borrowers are subjected to this um, criteria. So they must pass the RAP, or which is basically the 5 Cs of credit, wherein borrowers were evaluated as to their character, their capacity, and the condition or the outlook of the industry, as well as their capital. So panglima po yung collateral. So panghuli po consideration of collateral. Then to support these projects, the loan may be provided for working capital and commodity financing and interim. So in commodity financing is an interim financing where we will provide planters finance at harvest time to pay off maturing production loan. And this is to without having them to sell their produce when market price are typically at harvest low, which allows them to store the commodity and wait for better prices later, such as in the case of oil. And moving on, loan purpose is for building, construction, or improvement, like Iceland, for storage facilities and warehouses, acquisition and installation of related machineries and equipment, purchase of refrigerated trucks and chillers, retrofitting or repair of existing facilities and equipment to conform with current regulation to attain energy conservation or efficiency. I think is one of the objectives of this activity, and it to contribute to the reduction of greenhouse gases emission. So the interest rate will be based on market rate. So for our part, we use the Bipal rate as our reference rate, and we add um, um, we add some at that point. That will depend on the credit rating of the borrower, and the other factor is whether the mode of interest rate that will select, either fixed rate or variable rate. And we also manage different ODA programs and special programs from the government. So in case your loan will be funded by ODA or special projects, then the prescribed interest rate of these programs shall apply. So loanable amount is generally up to 80% of the project cost. The remaining 20% is the equity of the borrower. But we also have the one program, the Grow Green Financing Program. So when your project will contribute involves energy efficiency projects, then loanable amount can go up to 90% project cost. So that's one of the incentives for undertaking the energy efficiency projects. For community loan, we provide financing of up to 85% of the market price commodity at the time of loan payment. For loans to LGUs, this would be based on project requirement, but not more than its net borrowing capacity. So how long will be the payment term? For short-term loan, the bank offers a credit line that is available for drawdowns via promissory notes with loan tenor depending on cash cycle of the business. Permanent working capital is payable in quarterly or semi-annual amortization, a maximum of 5 years, while fixed asset acquisition is payable based on project cash flow, normally up to 15 years. And should that be more than if man is for licensing the asset. fixed asset or meaning useful life for second-hand or refurbishment. Grace period is also granted depending on the cash flow of the project. The collateral for the loan may be any or combination of real estate mortgage, chattel mortgage, and or other collateral acceptable. Moreover, the borrower can enhance the creditworthiness through the following: assignment of receivable, assignment of receipt or withdrawal of receipt, issued by the authority. And other available credit enhancements instruments such as surety or the personal guarantee of the owner of the corporation, insurance, for example, the Philippine Crop Insurance Corporation, the credit life insurance, and guarantee cover, post-dated checks for ease of payment of principal and interest amortization. And for LGUs, the assignment of national tax allotment. So, ito po yung dating IRA. NTA na po ang tawag. So these are the documentary requirements for the single proprietor and clients. They need to submit an accomplished application form, their registration from the DTI, biodata, the brief background or history or profile of the business, as well as the business plan for the proposed project. For cooperatives, this includes submission of their registration with either the CDA or SEC, the Articles of Cooperation or Incorporation, and bylaws, biodata of key officers and directors, and the latest GIS filed with the SEC, board resolution authorizing the borrowing from Tandang, and the project proposal. Then financial statements are likewise required, especially for existing businesses, to establish the borrower's repayment capacity. Then for the collateral documents, you will submit the photocopies of your titles, the RAPR or the real estate tax receipt, um, the uh, the vicinity map where your property is located, location map, location map. Then for the equipment, we will need to submit a copy of ownership of your existing machineries and equipment. For example, for vehicle ORCR. And we will also need project specific requirements like if you are involved in producing a certain type of agricultural commodity, we will be needing the farm plan and budget or development plan or similar type of document. Then for construction and repairs of structures, we will be needing the cost estimates, the blueprint, and other specification bill of materials. Then for acquisition of machinery and equipment, we will be needing the quotation from the suppliers. Okay, going to give you some glimpse of the funded projects of the bank. One is an ice plant and cold storage facility in Pangasinan. So this type of projects are vital support to our farmers and fishers for their products to avoid spoilage and their produce and harvest to be able to sell at a good price. So the ice plant has a total capacity of 250 metric tons or 1,920 blocks of 165 kilogram ice per day. And these are being supplied to the company's own poultry dressing plant that is tied up with a leading poultry integrator, as well as ice and fish dealers in Pangasinan and La Union. And the adjacent cold storage caters to onion growers and traders, which can accommodate onion deposits of up to 255,000 50 kilogram bags. And the facility also serves as storage for processed chicken products. In Nueva Ecija, We have also financed the construction and subsequent operation of cold storage facilities for onions, comprising of 3 buildings with a total of 28 cold storage rooms, with an aggregate capacity of 380,000 bags. Again, in Nueva Ecija, we have financed another cold storage facility that can accommodate up to 450,000 bags of onions that benefited some 20,000 onion farmers. Still in Nueva Ecija, we have financed an integrated dairy products company that processes dairy, buffalo, raw milk up to marketing and distribution of final products. So the company sourced their raw milk from the local farmers, the milk consolidators, the dairy cooperatives, and from their own nucleus farm. And part of Tank's financing covers the acquisition of cold storage equipment and refrigerated transport vehicles to further mobilize deliveries in the market and minimize incidents of product spoilage. And in General Santos, we have a client engaged in ice making and cold storage, warehouse, and refrigerated fan services. The company has a food grade tube ice maker with total of 80 tons capacity per day. And at least 80% of their produce are being supplied or utilized by their own poultry dressing plant, while the rest goes to institutional customers like aquaculture firms, supermarkets, convenience stores, hotels, resorts, and other retail stores. And the cold storage facility caters to storage of the processed chicken products. And another similar project was financed in Davao that directly supports the conglomerate's diversified businesses that includes an state-of-the-art poultry production, dressing, and rendering plants. Okay, for more updates, please feel free to contact our department, the Program Management Department 1, through these phone numbers. And also, you can also visit our lending centers, which are ready and happy to provide our interested borrowers with the necessary credit assistance, including further loan orientation and counseling. And for this purpose, they may visit the lending centers nearest to your area. And we also encourage everyone to subscribe to Landbank official social media accounts for regular updates. You may also join our Viber community to know more about the Landbank's lending programs, banking products, and services. And again, thank you and good morning, everyone.
Thank you very much, Ed. That was a lot. I think at this point, I will take one question lang muna for Ed. Anyone with a burning question for Ed at this point? Yes, sir. Please state your name, your company. Thank you.
I'm Luis Lim. Uh, I'm from Kilojoule Consultants, and I'm also the UNIDO specialist for ammonia refrigeration right now. I've noticed that in the pictures, there are problems in those pictures because the loading bays are open. They don't have also vaccine. So that's the biggest problem because most of your clients are only basing their design or their costings on their contractor that does not know the standards for refrigeration. So your biggest problem with that are the building envelope. So that will also, even if you have an efficient system, if your building envelope is leaking, you'll have bigger problems because you'll be running your refrigeration equipment continuously instead of you unloading it. That's the biggest problem because we have also one project. It was financed by one of the banks here. It operated for first 3 months and they have already a problem. We audited it and we have to correct everything because it's a design and construct. The problem is they only base on the requirements, the costings of their supplier, and their supplier is cutting on cost, so they didn't include everything. Uh, yeah, the one that I'm saying is in Palayan City. That was, I think, more than 10 years ago right now. You have to correct even the refrigeration system and insulated panels. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your observation, and we take note of your suggestion, and maybe in the future we can collaborate with entities that have the expertise for us to have an extra eye for the projects that we finance.
Thank you for the question and thank you, Ed. Okay. Let us now go to our next speaker from the Development Bank of the Philippines. Rustico Noli D. Cruz is currently the Vice President and Head of the Program Development and Management 1 Department of the DBP. He is responsible for the management and implementation of various programs and projects related to infrastructure development, environment protection and preservation, and social services and community development. Noli has more than 29 years of experience in development banking, with 10 years in retail lending, handling renewable energy projects, and micro, small, and medium enterprises. He has been the program manager of various projects funded by multilateral and bilateral institutions such as the World Bank and JICA, particularly on sectors and programs concerning RE, water supply and sanitation, climate change adaptation, and mitigation. Noli is a licensed environmental planner, a certified green finance specialist, and he holds a degree in MBA. Let us welcome Noli.
Thank you, Miss Lori, and good morning, everyone. It's a bit gloomy day, no? Medyo we have to energize, no? Because we're talking about cold chain, but hindi naman ganun pa cold, no? But nevertheless, while I'm waiting for my presentation to come out, okay, yeah. So, first of all, thank you to the organizer of this event, the Cold Chain Innovation Hub Philippines, for inviting DBP. And thank you also for this story. Since April, I think we're already communicating on whether I could speak here for the programs that DBP have, no, for Cold Chain. So thank you, Ms. Lori. And for the just to walk you through on the presentation, please allow me to brief you about the Development Bank of the Philippines, which I know you have some reservation because we're all over in the news insofar as the merger is concerned. So that it will not be a question, I would say that the instruction to us is a business as usual scenario. So we continue to offer the programs that we have in the bank. No? So, and hopefully the programs that we have right now, which I will share, will be able to help you pursue your project. So we are 100% owned by the national government, and we remain to be the premier development financial institution, catering mostly on infrastructure projects. We are already 76 years in existence, supporting the countrywide development. So, of course, we're not everywhere and everything and everywhere. Later on, I'll share on the focus areas where DBP operates, and we remain to be a key player in nation building, especially on infrastructure development. We are right now on eighth largest bank in terms of the asset size here in the Philippines. And well, as a testament of our performance, we became recipient of various national and international awards. One of those is the Association of Development Finance Institution in Asia and the Pacific, and also from Germany, the Karlsruhe Awards. Our strength, of course, as a development bank, is really on providing medium to long-term financing consistent with our mandate. So right now, our network, nationwide network, is already at 132 branches, 14 branch-like offices, 5 provincial lending groups. This is the group that provides if you would need the loans, they are the ones going to help you out. Okay. So our focus area as a development bank are four. One is on infrastructure and logistics. So we finance infrastructure, we support contractors in building because when we look at the value chain, we found out that the problem on some of the government projects is the capability of contractors to to fund the project. So we provided them some bridge financing to help them complete their contracts. Also, we are focused on power, transport, water, sanitation, and so on, and other infrastructure projects. Another focus area that we have is on SMEs. So we have various programs for SMEs, also on agriculture sector. That's pretty defined insofar as the delineation with the Land Bank of the Philippines being the focus or the focal bank for addressing agricultural sector. But we have our role as well in the agriculture sector based on several laws that were established or instituted by Congress. One of which is on the rice verification law. We have also for coconut. So those things. No? And also on environment, you would see BBP very proactive insofar as environment. In fact, we have been recently accredited under the Green Climate Fund, which is an opportunity for some of you wanting to pursue climate change adaptation and mitigation projects. So I won't discuss that, but part of the programs that we have here are addressing wastewater. So we have this lending initiative for sanitation, and we have also on renewable energy, energy efficiency, and so on. And lastly, we are also in social services and community development. So we are into housing, we are into healthcare services, we help hospital owners, no? So and also for schools. So these are the two programs that I'd like to introduce to you. I did not include the programs that we have for agricultural sector, which also touches on cold chain financing. But I think these are the two programs that will most cater to cold chain industry. One is the Connecting Rural Urban Intermodal Systems Efficiently, or the CRUISE program. This is actually a support for transport and logistics. So for maritime, we have also air. We do finance this kind of projects, including the rail. No? But nowadays, the rail is really just covered by the government, mostly government projects. And that's why it is the contractor that we are supporting them, for them to be able to deliver their contracts with the government. Road infrastructure, very important. So, in addressing the cost of goods, no? So if we have a good network of roads and highways, no, we'll be able to bring down the cost of goods. So logistics, the cold chain and bulk chain. Another program that we have is, of course, a while ago, the issue on the design, efficiency of the cold chain project. And this is a program that might be able to help you, and hopefully will be able to help you, because this caters to, number one, looking at green building projects. So rarely that we will see cold chain facilities on the green building, but perhaps this is something that you could look into as an industry player, because uh, the Republic Act 11285, or the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Law, the designated entities, you are mandated to reduce your electricity consumption, and including the fuel cost. So along that line, the law in itself, plus of course your obligation, to the environment, because nowadays we're talking about sustainable development goal, the Paris Agreement, but basically that's about your carbon footprint. So we really have to be conscious and maybe deliberate, in terms of our actions in addressing climate change issues. So as an entity, you have a role to play. And this is the program that we're offering. In terms of you constructing new building, perhaps you could look into having a green building. And if you also would like to retrofit to address concerns on technical issues and make it more efficient, the A2SAVE program is something that you could tap with DBP. And of course, if it's just a straight through energy efficiency project, for example, it's an existing facility, storage facility, and perhaps you'd like to replace some of your electricity coming from the grid with your own electricity, putting up, say, solar rooftop projects. No? This is also for own use purposes. This program will be able to help. Another thing is if you're looking at electric vehicles projects, no? Maybe if you have hectares of land and transporting goods from one place to another, and just on a short distance basis, no? You could look into perhaps using electric vehicles as part of your contribution to reducing your carbon footprint. So I mentioned already the solar rooftop on the renewable energy project for all use. So just to brief you on for cruise program. So what the program is all about, again, we're looking at contributing to SDG 11, which is the Sustainable Cities and Communities. And of course, this program would help or provide financing for maritime sector. So shipping, one is shipping that we are helping, especially on their conversion from, like for example, for some of the backup from wooden hull to steel and this fiberglass, and also for some shipping on their fuel and the fuel sulfur content. So they're trying to reduce that, and that's where DBT is helping them also in terms of financing. So logistics, air, and urban transport, which I already mentioned. Also, these assistance, we are helping the maritime industry development, maritime industry authority, the Marina. In fact, we have forged an agreement with them so far as financing maritime projects. This is in support of the maritime industry development and also the Philippine Development Plan. So these are the salient features of our cruise program. We again finance the maritime transport. We cater to sole proprietorship, private corporation, and cooperatives. The maximum loan amount we extend here is up to 70% of the total project cost. And for the term, we could extend up to 15 years and up to 5 years of grace period, depending on the project cash flow. We also extend here for working capital requirement for your business. So for the E2SAVE, as mentioned, this supports the Republic Act 11285, as you all know, as a government financial institution, we always support the national government's trust. And part of this is the compliance under the law. Also, this is supporting the Renewable Energy Act or Republic Act 9513 because we offer support for own use facilities or using renewable energy for own use. The other one is the Electric Vehicle Industry Development Act. So we promote under this program the use of electric vehicles. Perhaps you will see already in South Luzon Expressway, this is an electric vehicle delivery van. It's now being used, so I won't mention the name of that company, but they're already using it. And it's good because some of the companies, no, perhaps your client, no, would also demand for some sustainability or maybe some net zero no, contribution because they're also being conscious and so far as contributing to the SDG, particularly SDG 13 on climate action. We're also looking at the green building, no? Very important. So should you be working on new facility, perhaps you could already look into incorporating or green building, making it a green building so that it will be already compliant with the standards, number one. Number two is on, of course, the Republic 11285 in terms of the electricity consumption as well as the fuel consumption. So, yeah. So what are the features of this E2SAFE program? Of course, green building, then caters to public sector and private companies. We also fund here ESCO, the energy service company. For example, if the company, the cold chain company wanting to engage ESCO and you want them to design your building or retrofit your building, that's one thing that we could finance under this program. We also cater to energy service providers, such as those that are engaged on business where they sell electricity through the solar rooftop for own use. So that's already arrangement no, with you, just to reduce the cost of your electricity. And also for charging station. So this is quite advanced already. We have only in the malls that we see charging station. But should that give you a sense of business proposition, you're welcome to avail of our facility. So interest, well, that could be can be fixed or variable, depending on your appetite and your business strategy as well. We all know that if it is variable, it's on a short term, and therefore in terms of cost, it's lower. But then again, for long term or fixed, no, it provides you assurance. And so for us, the fluctuation, there's no fluctuation up to a certain period of time. So we also provide here revolving promissory note line of course, for working capital up to 180 days. And if you're looking at a new building, green building to be established, we could provide up to 50 years with 3 years grace period depending on the cash flow of the project. But for energy efficiency, we extend only up to 10 years because a good project on energy efficiency could repay maybe 5 to 7 years. No? So that's why we only extend up to 10 years and 1 year grace period. So what we have a special features here for E2SAFE. One, if you're looking at public institution, for example, an LGU, if you're a contractor, maybe you could introduce this because we could provide up to 100% financing to the LGU. And then for private companies, we could extend up to 80% of the total project cost. Also, the loan repayment could be designed in such a way it would be based on savings, no? But not to exceed 10 years. What do I mean by this? No? So the project in itself also should, for example, for a 1 million savings monthly, no? And you have a debt of say 20 million, that 1 million can be used to repay off the obligation within the 10-year period, no, max 10 years. For ESCO, of course, they have a pipeline of projects, and that's why, in cognizant of that this business practice that they have, we provide omnibus term loan facility, meaning each project will have a term of its own. No? So meaning if they have 10 projects, 5 projects, for example, each project would enjoy up to 10 years loan tenor, depending on the cash flow requirement of that project. That's it. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Noli. Again, that was a lot of information for our participants to digest. As what I said earlier, we will actually have an open forum after all our speakers have completed their presentation. Now at this point, I was informed that we are given a little extension, a little more time. So I think at this point, I can take 2 questions for Noli. Any hands? None for now? Okay. So think about the details of what Noli has presented, maybe during the open forum, after all the 4 speakers have completed their presentations. Okay. At this point, our third speaker is from the Bank of the Philippine Islands, or BPI. Mark Emmanuel Canlas is Vice President and the concurrent head of 2 divisions in BPI, the Sustainable Development Finance and Credit Support. The credit support provides growth and risk forecasts for industries, including power. Mark was formerly with the British Embassy's Southeast Asia Economic and Climate Change team, which accorded him exposure to climate-friendly technologies. Mark graduated magna cum laude from the University of the Philippines with a degree in economics, a postgraduate degree in the economics of climate change from the London School of Economics and Political Science, a postgraduate diploma credits from the University of London, and a master's in commerce, major in finance from the University of Sydney. The latter 3 were on a full scholarship from the British government and the Asian Development Bank, respectively. Please join me in welcoming Mark.
Right. Right. So when I was with the British Embassy, we're pushing for feed-in tariffs in, I think, 2008, right now, financial crisis. The reason we were pushing for it was weird to me. You remember in 2008 that we had the second highest, I think we still have the second highest electricity rate in the region. And I was like, why are we going to push for FIT? Why are we going to subsidize these new technologies and then consumers will need to pay for it? So this is why. Because we need to push for cleaner energy. Sorry. All right. So because we needed to push for cleaner energy, and DBI is aligning itself towards the UN SDG, similar to what everyone in the panel will tell you about. Essentially, our lending is 51% in UN SDGs. The reason for this is because the bank is really serious about its sustainability push, and this is also the angle at which we're gunning for cold chain. BPI committed to not lending to any new coal plants. We're going to zero out our coal exposure by 2032. This is again in line with the Paris Climate Agreement. I'll quickly go through my slides because this is more that's like a praise release of what we've done. But just to emphasize on how serious we're doing this, we have 3 divisions that essentially is working on sustainable development. We have the Sustainability Office, which is in charge of all the policies of the bank. You have SDF, which is essentially lending to SMEs, people like with a capitalization of less than $1 billion. And then you have the Structured Finance Group, which is similar to what Gravity represents in BDO. So that's your large corporate loans. So those are the 3 entities within BPI that you can contact in case you are working on sustainability. But the main department that you'd be working with is the one that's under me, which is SDF. It was established in 1998, essentially to make sure that all of our projects are technically and financially feasible. So that's the only time we started counting. Someone added this because this apparently we've won a lot of sustainability awards. Then in 2022 alone, this is a mandate of our sustainability office, not my idea. So what do we finance? Essentially, all of the 4 banks that you see today are financing the same things. We do energy efficiency, renewable energy, buildings or climate resilience projects, and then sustainable agriculture. Essentially, cold chain would fall under either energy efficiency or climate resilience. Because you can approach cold chain facilities like green buildings, as Nolly mentioned a while back. All right, so what have we done so far? We've disbursed around 250 billion in loans for all these projects, and we've supported around 400 projects so far since 1998. That would look like such a small amount, right? 250 billion for a bank that has a portfolio of 1.5 trillion. So that's 1,500 billion. And we've dispersed how much? 250 billion. Why is that? Why is that small? Because we focus on SMEs. These are a lot of small loans. So these are the projects that might be of interest to you, like chiller systems, LED light inverters, high energy efficiency motors. I'll quickly just go through this because I'd rather have more time for Q&A. The interesting part is that you can approach cold chain facilities as many things. It's a green building. You put up a solar on top of it because it's a huge facility, right? And it's also an energy efficiency project. Essentially, what you'll see is that we're essentially calling the same thing different things. We're all lending for capex. We're all financing working capital. So that's everything that we're offering you guys. So it's just different programs. But I think what sets BPI apart is that we actually have engineers in-house that will make sure that your projects don't, I think one of the guys mentioned, burn or leak. We have engineers who will look at your, who will go through the plan and see, is this correct? Is this going to work? Because in BPI, we believe that it's not, going for green isn't good on its own. It needs to make money. If it doesn't make money, we're going to chuck it anyway, right? Because at the end of the day, everyone's a businessman. We're all trying to get profit. So I think that's a value proposition. We will sit through every stage of your project and make sure that it's going to work. Well, for 2 days ago, I was speaking in a solar project convention. The main issue with solar is that burns. Those PV things, they heat up and then they burn. So those are the things that we will make sure that it doesn't happen. Like if you put up a solar panel on top of your cold chain facility, that it's not going to burn. So yeah, so the key takeaway is how to turn green to gold, making sure that whatever good things we do for the environment don't only provide benefits to the environment, but also provide an increase in margins and reductions in energy costs. That's it. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, any question for Mark? Maybe one or two at this point from the audience. He tried to make his presentation short because he wanted to spend more time for Q&A. May tanong ba? Anyone from the audience at this point? O nag-iisip pa kayo? Sige lang. Sulat nyo lang. Tapos mamaya sa open forum, we will give you the chance to ask your questions. Okay? So let me go to our last presenter or speaker for this session. We have from Banco de Oro. Gabriel Lim is Senior Vice President and Head of Corporate Finance of BDO Capital. Prior to the merger of BDO Unibank and Equitable PCI Bank, he was Senior Vice President and Managing Director of PCI Capital Corporation. Gabi was previously connected with a number of government institutions, having served as Chief of Staff to the Secretary of the Department of Finance of the Republic of the Philippines and as Vice President and Special Assistant to the Chairman of the Development Bank of the Philippines, during which she concurrently acted as alternate member of the Board of Directors of the National Development Company. Gabi oversees the two corporate finance teams of BDO Capital and is directly involved in the origination, structuring, and execution of various debt and equities capital market transactions, including, among others, debt syndication, bond offers, project finance, and acquisition finance, initial and follow-on offerings, mergers and acquisitions, preferred shares offerings, and financial advisory. Gabi completed his bachelor's degree in commerce, major in marketing from San Beda College, and has likewise earned master in business management units from the Asian Institute of Management. Let us welcome Gabi.
Morning, everyone. This morning, my presentation will focus on BDO's financial initiatives in the renewable energy sector to provide you a template about how we, as an investment bank, and BDO Unibank, as our parent bank, whose core business is lending, generally view financing support for sustainability initiatives. Why renewable energy as a focus of this morning's talk, you may ask? Sustainability is a very broad subject matter. And BDO as a group decided that for starters, it was focused on a key area of the country's economy where there's an acute need for financing support to address the country's growth aspirations. Hence, BDO very early on marshaled significant resources to provide financing support to an industry upstream to yours, and which touches on practically every aspect of our economy and our lives, energy generation. It's a well-known fact
that our country's economic growth aspirations require the generation and distribution of sufficient amounts of power, which in turn requires a substantial amount of equity and debt capital. My presentation this morning will thus provide a flavor of how BDO approaches financing of sustainable energy. And of course, this approach cascades to everything else down the value chain of energy, including energy consumers like the cold chain industry. BDO was among the pioneers in promoting renewable energy and energy efficiency project financing in 2010 by putting together a sustainable energy finance program with the International Finance Corporation. As of end 2021, BDO has provided debt financing of about 85.4 billion pesos for over 54 renewable energy projects with an installed capacity of 2,230 megawatts. This is equivalent to about 4.3 million tons of carbon dioxide avoided every year, or about close to 906,000 passenger vehicles taken off the roads yearly. More importantly, however, BDO has today provided financing support to a total of about 548 billion in sustainable projects in transport infrastructure, renewable energy, energy efficiency, green buildings, pollution control, sustainable water and wastewater management, among others. From a client perspective, I'd like to briefly share with you a 7-year capital market financing journey BDO Capital has taken with a boutique real estate developer that exclusively pursues sustainable commercial and residential real estate projects, Artaland Corporation. The company is listed on the Philippine Stock Exchange with a market capitalization of around 2.7 billion pesos, which is relatively small by the stock market standards. It's the only Philippine real estate developer with a portfolio that's 100% certified as sustainable and green by both local and global organizations. The company is the developer of, among others, Aria Residences, Artaland Century Pacific Tower, Cebu Exchange, and Salvia Financial Center. The Century Pacific Food Group, producer of the Century Tuna and 555 brands of canned food, is the largest shareholder of the company. The company's real estate projects typically feature energy-efficient building envelopes, air conditioning, lighting, and filtration for ventilation systems. Since 2016, BDO Capital has assisted the company raise a total of 13 billion pesos in debt and equity-like financing from the capital markets via 6 transactions to support its green development. What can BDO do for you by way of raising finance? First, we can help in developing a roadmap for capital raising strategies and options. We can also help in finding equity investors who can help provide both equity financing and, if desired by our clients, strategic value by way of their technical and management know-how and network of suppliers and customers. We can also help evaluate project bankability for fundraising purposes, arrange project loans, help refinance existing loans via bonds or loans with more corporate loan type structures, and even underwrite IPOs or arrange private trade sales of equity. This slide highlights the types of financing options that are typically available for renewable energy projects that we've been actively engaged with. More or less, these types of options may also be considered for efficiency projects in the cold chain sector. We have the traditional instruments like debt financing, including soft loans when available, equity, and sometimes even grants. The more innovative instruments would involve guarantees provided by export credit guarantee entities, bonds, blended finance, which would typically involve a mix of export credit guarantees supplier credit, and all commercial loans, and specialized funds such as ESG, sustainability, or green funds. I'll skip this slide in the interest of time. This slide merely provides a sample of the typical terms for the limited recourse project financing of renewable energy projects we arrange with banks. I'd like to present to you some of our rules of thumb when arranging limited recourse debt financing for renewable energy projects. Some of these are born out of the requirements of lending banks, while some are offshoots of our thrust towards sustainability. These will give you a flavor of how lenders think about risk management in lending. I'd like to emphasize that these apply to project financing for special purpose vehicles, typically organized to take on limited recourse financing. Some of these elements are relaxed for typical corporate or enterprise loans, which most of you will likely take on for your cold chain efficiency projects. Number one, we no longer arrange nor finance new coal generation projects for the power sector. In general, we like, as debt arrangers, project finance deals with debt amounts of about 1 billion pesos, size at a maximum debt to equity ratio of about 70% debt and 30% equity. Of course, BDO as a lender for cold chain efficiency projects would be interested in considering providing debt facility amount at much lower than 1 billion pesos. Off-take contracts that account for about two-thirds of plant capacity for non-project finance capital expenditure transactions in the cold chain sector. An element that applies instead of energy off-take contracts will be the percentage of your facility's capacity that's spoken for by customer contractual arrangements with weighted average tenors that reasonably match loan maturities. This next slide gives a flavor of typical issues we encounter in arranging financing for renewable energy projects. These typically involve elements such as predictability of cash flows, sponsor experience, and collateral acceptability to banks. These are basic credit elements and apply to any lending activity of any bank. The key takeaway I'd like to relate to you for your sector is that there are typically counterpart, but not necessarily exactly similar, issues encountered in financing projects in general, including those in the cold chain sector. As the gentleman earlier raised, he saw certain technical issues with the project that was discussed earlier. And these are things that lenders are typically concerned about because this could affect the ability of the project to generate the optimal cash flows that were expected by this project. Thus, as project proponents and sponsors, it's important that mitigants be put in place to the extent feasible to make your projects attractive to debt providers from a risk management perspective. That ends my presentation this morning, and thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Gabby. Okay, so we have completed all the 4 presentations. At this point, maybe I would like to ask if there is anyone, maybe 1 or 2, who have specific questions for Gabby at this point before we go to the open forum proper. Meron bang gusto magtanong? Yes, Hilda. Kindly introduce yourself and your position in the project. Thank you.
So good morning, I'm Hilda Garibay. I'm the project lead of the Cold Chain Innovation Hub project of UNIDO. So a while ago, Ms. Lori mentioned about one of the components of the project is the demo project, wherein we are giving up to 80% subsidy for those who would adopt cold chain technologies, the new one, the environmentally friendly technologies. My question is, a while ago, Land Bank presented the requirements. I'm sure most of the banks would require such documents. The question is, how complicated is the processing and the approval considering if the industry would like to avail our demo project because it's a good deal for them, 80%, as much as 80% would be shouldered by the project. But then our project will end in December. So if they want to avail the loans for you to co-finance the one we are financing them, how long or how complicated that is. So anyone can, the bank can answer.
Thank you, Hilda. Did our speakers get the question from Hilda? Okay, so let me start. Ed, ikaw ang pinakamalapit sa akin. Ikaw ang mauna.
Actually, we had a previous discussion with the UNIDO group last 2022, and this involves our fund sourcing department. And in those series of meetings, they presented or they raised certain issues that will uh, uh, the barriers that this tie-up will not be easy to implement because of necessary approvals from NEDA and other regulatory agencies. And I think and the project I think is nearing its completion date. So also I think after several meetings there's no more follow-up meetings happen.
May we get an update on that? Yes, Jan? I have a question. No, Ed here is saying that from his last understanding, there is an approval from, say, the NEDA that will have to be secured first. Is that right? What is the update on that, please?
No, sir. What the situation right now is that the private sector, the UNIDO would not anymore transact with the bank, but the private sector already. As for the NEDA, it's already been done since the project is now ongoing. So the question is how the private sectors, the operators, the end user of this cold chain how quickly they can avail the loan, the financing packages from the financial institutions.
So the assumption is there is a project. There's a project proposal. How long will the processing within the bank take place? I think that is the question.
Thank you for the clarification. For the bank, our undertaking is we process loans within 45 working days upon complete submission of the requirements. And they can approach the nearest lending center in the area. Yes.
I think the key word there is upon submission of the complete set of documentations and requirements. They will process within 45 days.
Okay, so thank you, sir, for that. How about the other?
Yeah. May we request our other resource persons to please respond?
Yeah. Assuming everything is in order and the project has been determined to be viable, normally it would take between 40 to 45 to 60 days to get a debt financing facility in place. Um, if this is relatively new technology, the bank might require opinion, a technical opinion from a third party if necessary. But if it's a full starter project, the technology is tried and tested, the the borrower is bankable, then about 45 to 60 days. And the documentation is fairly straightforward.
Yeah, I think it's the same amount of time. I mean, as I said before, we're offering the same product, more or less, and the time that it takes is the same. But I think the largest part that delays things is understanding what the requirements are. Normally, people think that they understand what the requirements, and then once they submit, it's actually wrong. So I think the back and forth is what usually causes the delay. Yeah.
For us, I think we're looking at 45 to 60 days time horizon for the approval of the law. But of course, that is hinged on the project viability. Of course, what the proposal is about, since it's a blended finance, no? So there is a grant coming from the, and we look also some sort of an equity required of, and for the 20%, if you're saying max of 80% will be a grant, so the 20%, that's where we're gonna split the financing. No? So yeah, it would be easier because largely it's grant, no? And that will form part of the collateral. Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, let me give the, oh,
Hello. Anyway, for those who are interested now in the industry, because as definitely that's the reality of it, the complication or the understanding of the documents requirements or the requirements in general. The good thing is UNIDO is working now with PIFAN, so we will be assisting you with all those requirements. We will be coaching you until to the submission to the bank. So we are now in partnership with PIFAN and then with the banks for make these things easier for all of you. And then if you are not able to avail the demo project and then but want to continue to still avail loan for your project, we will again help you with all the requirements, packaging it, coaching you, and we will capacitate you to do all these things within partnership with PIFAN and in partnership with the banks. So that's the thing that we can offer to you. For what?
Thank you very much. Good morning. This is Jan from Atmosphere, formerly Shekel. First of all, I would like to say thank you to Laurie and the panelists to making this session happen. I think it's extremely important for us to have this discussion. The function of the hub is to bring access to these technologies, to increase the awareness about what's possible, what's out there, the latest and the best. And I'm very happy to hear that you will be joining us to see the technologies on display at the hub later on this afternoon. But it's necessary, in order to scale up, it's necessary to have your assistance. So that's why the financing discussion is so important. I have a question, maybe several questions on the topic. You support number of cold chain projects. You have number of, say, products for this sector. Within that, not all cold chain technologies are created equal. Are you willing to look a little bit deeper under the hood of what technologies are we talking about in terms of the sustainability, in terms of the impact on environment, in terms of efficiency itself? Are you already are you familiar into any level with natural refrigerants as the, let's say, the most sustainable, most energy efficient solutions out there? Are you also familiar with some of the issues linked to refrigerants, chemical refrigerants, such as HFCs, HFOs, TFAs, PFAS? So, if my question was clear, all right, can we reset the system somehow?
hold on, Yan. Are you done with your question? Thank you, Yan. Let us request our speakers to please respond to that.
We're not focusing on the most efficient because we're not choosing between technologies. We have a minimum as long as it meets a 15% energy efficiency, like a savings of 15%. we're fine. If you go for a green building, it's 20% and everything. So those are the thresholds. The reason why we have engineers in BDI who will look at your projects is essentially those issues of having new technologies. Uh, I'm like, I'm a finance kid. Give me a floor plan and I'd be like, which one's the door? So, I mean, it's not my field of expertise. So those things are handled by um, another set of people who work with us. So the technology side is something that I'm not particularly adept, but we also look into that because again, we need to provide assurance in terms of the project feasibility.
Thank you. Just a quick comment. We are very much involved with the same stakeholders in Europe and America. This discussion have been, advancing there for the last 10 years. So we'll be very happy to provide you more insight into what kind of technologies are, let's say, preferred option for the industry. Thank you. Can we have maybe a take from some of your colleagues? Thank you.
Yeah, on the part of the Development Bank of the Philippines, we don't set the standards so far as how much will be reduced. But then again, it's a function of viability because if that is declared upon by the developer or their, let's say, engineers, that it would indeed, for example, save X number of electricity, that's something that we do monitor along the way. And if you're looking at other technology, perhaps it's pretty straightforward. For example, in terms of kilowatt hour consumption, it's pretty defined. So it's not really that uh, this rocket science in so far as determining so far the equivalent savings that you could derive from those equipment or technology. So, but we do rely on the energy audit as to determining really how much savings could be derived from that particular project in general. And also, preferably, we would have this investment grade audit so that we would be assured of the investment costs as well as on the current savings that this technology will be able to save.
Yeah, I think the question has, I guess, three layers. The general answer is yes. Uh, we are always interested in considering projects per se, provided they're viable. Now, it depends now on the project sponsors. If you want to label your project green, for instance, or sustainable, there are certain standards that have to be met there. Now, if you don't intend to label it green, but you can prove at the very least that it's viable, uh, the icing on the cake is energy efficient, and you can prove your repayment capacity, yes. And if the technology is proven, um, more so, right? Now, if the technology is relatively new, there may be an additional requirement that a third party, we don't have engineers unlike BPI. They can afford engineers, we cannot. They're richer. They own Makati. So that will typically be done by an external qualified party who will render an opinion regarding the technology. And yes, we are aware of emissions of refrigerants, and we're very conscious of that. Because for BDO, a metric is greenhouse gas emissions, which I did mention, but it's one of our SDG objectives that we need to meet. And we do have a net zero objective for our institution, and even for our, to the extent viable, our lending activities.
Ed, would you want to say something in that regard?
Yes, the land bank is very supportive of these types of projects. Particularly, in fact, we have a dedicated program. We call it the Go Green Financing Program, where we finance these types of projects. And as mentioned by other panelists, one of the requirements for this for the borrowers to avail of this program is the submission of a study by third party on the reduction of or the savings to be generated by this project. And generally, within the bank, we have a environmental department wherein all the projects that are being financed by land bank should not harm the environment.
Thank you. So, as shared by our four resource persons, and the way I got it, please correct me if I'm wrong. The push for, say, cold chain projects hinge on the viability of the project per se, and not specifically pushing for natural refrigerants, for example. But if the proponent wishes to pursue a technology using natural refrigerants, by all means, that will be entertained by the banks. And if this is deemed to be a new technology, the bank like BDO may have the need to get a third opinion, an expert opinion on the technology. Is that correct interpretation? Okay, so thank you so much. So bottom line for the bank, the cold chain project must be viable. Okay, do we have other questions? Actually, Yan, you have a question? Yeah, please.
I just want to address this question to Hilda, uh, because many here are asking when you said that you're gonna what support the 80% as much as 80%, right? Is there a cap for it? Yes. You have to explain. There is a cap for the 80 first for per project. So we have different projects. We have as much as big as industrial cold chain equipment, and we have as small as display units and small freezers. So that component, the component of the projects only have that budget. So we cannot give all 80% as much uh, uh, lalo na dun sa mga big industrial project. But still, the one we approved the last time was the Glacier Panay, it's a cold storage project. We give as much as 65% subsidy because it's a big project. But for the small project, for the freezer, display cabinets, and the truck, we gave 80%. Later, the demo project details will be presented after this session, and then you would know.
Yeah, just if I may, Yan, just for a quick, I think as much as I got confused the first time, maybe some other people are.
This is a follow-up of what Yan has asked before. I would like to ask PTI, do your engineer know about the phase down of the HFCs refrigerant? Because most of your engineers are only air conditioning guys dealing with Freon system. So you don't know that there will be a phase down. It would start January 1 this year, next year. So it's a freeze on the importation of HFCs. And after that, 1928, there will be a 10% reduction. So if you'll be investing starting next year or this year, I don't think you should use 134A or 404A and the likes of that, because that would be phased down. I would recommend that your engineers should learn on the new refrigerants. Actually, it's not new. CO2 has been here for more than 100 years, and ammonia. Ammonia is being used for cold storage system, for food processing plants, for your beverage plant like soft drinks. It's all ammonia. And San Miguel in 2000, we started using ammonia water chillers. Even Asia Brewery has one. And the big sausage casing manufacturer, this case,
Yeah.
is owned by
Excuse me,
Carl Icahn.
sir. Yeah, if I may, pwede mo ba, can you go directly to your
Yeah.
question? If
Yeah. My
Yeah.
question is, are your engineers in BPI ready for the start of the freeze by January 1, 2024? Thank you.
I'll name the engineers. Um, Silver Navarro, Ray, Ray Marquez, and Mona Gilles.
Ray Marquez is an electrical engineer.
Yep. I'm pretty
Marquez.
sure
Raymond,
that
is that Raymond Marquez?
yes,
Oh, he's an electrical engineer, he's not mechanical.
I know, but I'm sure that at least one of them would know how to do it.
I don't think so.
All right.
A mechanical engineer should be the one doing it.
Yeah, I think, I know Ray Marquez, he's been in the sector for quite some time, and he's very familiar with refrigeration systems. So let me end it at that point.
But can we have clarification? Only the natural refrigerants and energy efficient will be supported by UNIDO. So let me correct. If the bank doesn't care what refrigerants, but the only project that will be supporting is the natural refrigerant and energy efficient. If not, then you can directly go to the bank. It's out of our hands. So yun po yung aming. So please, leapfrog now to natural refrigerants. We are here to help you. Even though it's not yet mandated by the law by this time, but it will go there. So just leapfrog. That's the end message of this.
Yeah.
So we will finance you if you go to these technologies.
Yeah, Hilda, one last question. Are these technologies the ones that are exhibited at the CC Hub only?
Yan will answer that later on the demo project. So
Okay.
thank you so much.
So I think Yan will answer that. They wanted to find out if the 80% subsidy for the cost of the equipment will only be limited to those that are using natural refrigerants and those that are exhibited at the CCI hub. So Yan will answer that. So I think at this point, we'd like to end the session, and I'd like to thank our 4 speakers and resource persons. Thank you so much for sharing your bank's lending programs with us. Thank you.